Off. But good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 3-for-1 Sky Fantasy Podcast and Fantasy Football Hub as we look ahead to the final week of the season, game week 41. Paul is on holiday, so I'm joined by the brilliant Ian Parrin, who has a fantastic season. Ian, it's great to have you back. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Fergi. Good to be back. Thanks for having me again.
51st overall. You came on around Christmas time, I believe, and you were around about 300th, weren't you? And you seem to be set for a top finish at that point. Have you kind of lived up to your expectations of where you feel you'd be, or?
Yeah, at one stage I thought I wasn't going to get this high, and then it goes to show that sort of the last 3 weeks I've had real big rises, and it's all about getting the right players at the right time and getting the armband on.
Indeed. So we are going to preview this week and next weekend first. But what we're going to do after that is we're going to have a quick look at Ian's season and discuss any learnings we can gauge from him and indeed from the chat. Let us know how you've performed this season in the chat. It'd be great to know what you could have done better, any mistakes, anything that's gone well. Are you having a great season or not? Mine's kind of okay. I'm 309th. I've got Van Dijk this evening, which not kind of massively hopeful for. But I've got an okayish team going into game week 38. I probably expect to finish in between 300 or 400, I think, which is not too bad from a few weeks ago. But just haven't managed to, really challenge and crack top 100 this year like I have the last couple of seasons, which is a shame. But we'll talk about some learnings and everything on what we could do better next year. But again, we say it every year, but it's so true. The game is just getting harder and harder, isn't it? The amount of really good managers making really sensible decisions. I think it's shown in the transfer counts as as well over the last few weeks. Like lots of people having lots of transfers left over the last month has been a bit of a change. Do you think that, Ian? Do you feel the game is getting harder?
Oh, it's getting more difficult year by year by year. The content that you get, likes of here, James and Planet, Bobby on his YouTube videos this year, Slack channels, WhatsApp groups, you name it, it's all out there. And with this game, it's difficult to keep your moves secret because some of them become, if not template, very, very popular. And then your popular players are getting really high ownership.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll come on to it when we review the season. Once we realised Palmer was what he was, at the price he was, everybody got him.
Indeed.
And it meant you could get so much else.
He wasn't a secret either, was he? I think that's the thing. As soon as a few good players kind of recognise him and they, and put it out there, years ago, they would have been like a well-kept sort of secret, especially the bonus magnets.
Been under the radar for 5-6 weeks.
Exactly, whereas now everyone's on them that week. It's,
But
yeah, good stuff. So we're down here into the final. We've got 4 game days left of the season, including this evening, Aston Villa and Liverpool. Just want to touch on this one first, obviously, because lots of people are kind of stuck on what to do. Like I say, I'm on Van Dijk. We've had a few questions through about Watkins or Salah, whether to transfer them in for other good assets as well, whether to bring them in for someone like Son or Rodri or someone like that, because a few people are scared of Salah. What would what's your take and what would your advice be on how to approach the match this evening?
It looks to me like Liverpool are in the ascendancy again. They were terrible for like 3 or 4 weeks, weren't they? But last week they got back to themselves, and Villa were anything but themselves. So I think Salah's probably your best bet today. If I was going to make a move over some other player that's got games this week, I'd want to be making sure I was captaining probably today and on Sunday to make it double, as it were, to offset what could happen with the player you're taking out. You take it someone like Rodri, he could the way the season he's had this year, he could easily score 10, 12 points on his own on tomorrow's game, couldn't he?
He could, and this is the thing. I think it also depends on, I had a very specific question on Twitter this morning where the chap's like 100 points clear. It's like, do I need to bring in Salah? And I'm like, I wouldn't, because he was talking about kind of bringing in taking out Son or Rodri and stuff. But as you say, those are the kind of players, Son and Rodri, that they're absolutely fine. So I think because you had a 100-point lead, you'd be absolutely fine. Whereas if you've got like a slender lead, or if you're chasing, you may need to go a bit different. But now is the time to defend or indeed attack as well. And it all kind of depends on how you're feeling. So you think Salah's the best option? I do agree there. What about Watkins? How do you think he's going to do this evening?
Well, we'll come on to it. I have Watkins. I pressed a bit of a gamble button 2 Sundays ago when I was I think I was up to 33rd. And I thought, well, if I'm going to go for it, I'm going to go for it big style. So I went on Watkins, and they were abysmal against Brighton, I think. Lost the game. Yeah. I don't think Villa had a shot, yet alone Watkins getting one.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be that their last home game, I think it'd be fairly open. Villa still need some points, don't they, to guarantee 4th?
They do. I think they need to win this evening. I think if they win this evening, then they're good.
Tottenham can't catch them in their 2 remaining games. Exactly. Right?
I think there's a 4-point gap. So being a Spurs
fan, Liverpool are dead in 3rd, aren't they?
They are. Being a Spurs fan, I'm not hopeful of us getting a result against Man City, because I think because of the 4-point gap, we need to get a result against Man City. Need to win. I can't see that happening, even though they've got an excellent record at home against them. I think it'll be different this week. I think Man City are gonna steamroll them, but you never know.
I fancy City to get a comfortable win tomorrow, to be honest.
Same. In terms of the rest of the week, and for those who've got transfers less, some kind of opportunities, I've pulled out a couple of players I think could be pretty decent. Lowish ownership still.
But those that want to have a gamble for captaincy,
yeah. So I just picked out De Bruyne. You see, back in the team. We know he hasn't been a fantastic, Sky asset this year, but he is very, very capable, isn't he, of some big hauls, and the fact they're playing Spurs and West Ham, who are 2 of the poorest performing defending teams. I'm not, obviously not saying to go with him ahead of Haaland or Foden. If you have got some transfers left, load up on De Bruyne. I think could be really good. Another player like Michael Elise. It is a final day punt, but he just looks. He looks on fire. They are home on Sunday too. I did have it up. Home to Aston Villa, who haven't been great. So I think Elise, if you're really looking for someone really, really different, to either just bring him by himself.
That's only one game, though, isn't it? If you've got transfers left, you want to be bringing people in today, tomorrow, or Wednesday, don't you, for 2 games?
Yeah, and I've put Wilson up as well for Newcastle. Obviously depending on fitness.
If he starts on Wednesday,
if he starts on Wednesday, he was obviously the player who effectively won Paul Sky last year due to his end of season form. Who else do you think?
And the year before, Kevin De Bruyne had that 4-goal game against Wolves, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah,
incredible out of the blue. But yeah, that I don't think there were many Sky players on that, were they at all? And
most people were still on Cancelo back then.
They were. Any more players, Ian? Who would you be eyeing up now if you had, say, 3 transfers left? What are the 3 moves you would make?
Maybe Jota if he starts.
Okay.
I've not seen the team for today.
I don't think he is starting. I think it's Salah, Gakpo, and Diaz is my
maybe Gakpo then. Punty played well last week.
He did.
De Bruyne alike. Maybe Bernardo Silva if he's playing tomorrow. Yeah. Anthony Gordon maybe Wednesday. But then they've got a fairly tricky match on Sunday, haven't they? Newcastle, they visit Brentford who've not been too shabby. I think I'd be going for someone from the City team, I think.
Yeah.
I think they'll win comfortably, and I think they'll win easily on Sunday at home.
I agree. So I'm just trying to find the official lineups for this evening. I did see Aston Villa, Martinez, Konza, Carlos, Pau, Digne, Bailey, Tielemans, Douglas Luiz, McGinn, Diaby and Watkins, and in Liverpool, Alisson, Gomez, Endo. Looks like they're playing Endo at Oh no, they're not. They've just done it in number order. Alisson, Gomez,
order, yeah.
Endo, Van Dijk, Diaz, McAllister, Salah, Gakpo, Elliott, Alexander-Arnold, and Kwanzaa. They're the 2 teams.
I think that's unchanged from last week, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. So Gakpo would be a bit of a punt, you think. Home to Wolves on Sunday as well, aren't they? So
yeah, I think they'll get a decent send-off next Sunday.
Agree.
Klopp's last game. Wolves are a bit of a mess at the minute, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Agree with that. Looking at the fixtures this week, so we've already, we touched on this evening. Salah as captain, we feel probably Watkins. Anyone after that? Gakpo as a punt.
Yeah, as a punt. If you're bringing somebody in tonight and you're chasing, you might as well go for something different.
Yeah.
If you're protecting and bringing in today, then well done to you. I'd go for Salah.
Agree. Spurs v Man City tomorrow, as we have mentioned. Haaland will obviously be popular.
Haaland if you're ahead.
Yeah.
Somebody else if you're catching up.
Yeah, Foden roughly 70% owned. Rodri's about 55, I think. De Bruyne, I haven't checked De Bruyne's actually, but it's nowhere near that sort of range, I don't think. But as you say, De Bruyne, maybe Bernardo as well. Really good options there, aren't they? I expect lots of goals in these last two.
I think so. I think they could probably get, I'd say probably 7 would be your under run overs for the 2 games.
I think so.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday, Brighton and Chelsea, United and Newcastle. Probably, reasonably open potentially in terms of captaincy. Probably Palmer, but who'd your captain be Wednesday?
I think it will be Palmer. Might go Isak. The one that some people have done really well out of is Jackson.
Yeah. He was. He's been on form, hasn't he? He's a good player.
He has lately. Yeah.
He is.
Yeah, one to watch for next year.
Yeah, not
Chelsea and Jackson.
Yeah, I agree. 50-50. Probably. I think it has to be Palmer, just because of his form, and I think Isak, he came off as a precaution as well, didn't he? So if he's coming off as a precaution on the weekend, 4 days later,
he needs to come off again.
So I think that.
And United were improved against Arsenal, weren't they?
Yeah. If if we're going for a punt, Isak or.
Go for a punt, maybe Lewis
Dunk, maybe Dunk as well. So there are plenty of options kind of go for, aren't there? And it only takes one of these, random, as you say. Foden's got a couple of hat-tricks this season. De Bruyne, as we know, has got a hole in him as well. It only takes this one.
That's what you need.
This one match,
haul,
exactly.
20-pointer, captain, 40. I mean, that boosts you right up, wouldn't it?
Go for De Bruyne, and then maybe Gordon, for example, and they both managed to just have that one game. It can completely swing mini leagues on their head, can't they? So if you're chasing,
that's what you need. If you're chasing, there's no point in going for the popular if you're chasing.
Exactly that.
You're only going to stay the same behind, aren't you?
Agree. And then looking at Sunday, 19th of May. I mean, what a beautiful fixture list. They all start at 4:00. Just have a quick run through. Sheffield United and Spurs. Sun's ownership has obviously increased for disappointing Spurs. Man City, West Ham, Luton, Fulham, Liverpool, Wolves, Palace, Villa, Chelsea, Bournemouth, Burnley, Forest, Brighton United, Brentford, Newcastle, Arsenal, and Everton. In terms of kind of game state, it's going to be Man City and Arsenal down to the wire. Assuming Man City beats Spurs
if it's
tomorrow.
A draw tomorrow, it could go right down to the wire on goal difference.
Incredible. But yeah, you probably have to say, given the form, given the game state, and everything else, that Haaland will be the best captain home to West Ham. If you were chasing Ian, who would you go for?
With somebody I had, or somebody to bring in?
What completely objectively? If you were chasing,
if I was chasing, Havertz.
Havertz, wow, home to Everton. Yeah, I like that. Like Salah home to Wolves as well. I thought Wolves were dreadful against Man City. I haven't watched a lot of games 90 minutes in the last few weeks, but I watched Wolves Man City, and I just can't believe how many times Wolves let Man City turn in between the lines. They gave the ball into De Bruyne, Foden's, Haaland's feet. They just allowed him to turn and run at them. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing, and that will just play right into Liverpool's hands as well, won't it? So,
absolutely,
yeah. lots like, well, obviously all 10 games, lots of options, potentially Sun or to Sheffield United as well, but plenty of options there. So Haaland to play safe.
I listened to James on his podcast today,
Yep.
and he said that Tottenham are very, very, very good on the last day. They've scored something like 13 goals in the last 3 Gameweek 38 games.
That is interesting. I'm pleased as that as a Sun.
All of them away from home as well.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah, they beat
Norwich, Leeds, and somebody else.
That's it. Yeah.
Can't remember the third team. Norwich and Leeds were definitely 2 of them.
Sun.
Because Paul was on Kane last year, wasn't it?
That's right. He was in the year.
And that was at Leeds.
It was.
And then Sun, the year that I was in contention in the main mini league, I was on captain Sun. I think that's when they played Norwich.
He got 2 days on the final
too
day.
Late.
I remember.
Too late, very late. That was the day that Villa were 2 up at City.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I remember.
They came back with Gundogan, didn't they?
What's that in the pub with Rich Clark? That was a good day. That was a day I had. I think I had Saka or something, and he had Martinelli, and Arsenal got a penalty, and for some complete unknown reason they gave it to Martinelli, and it's like just completely out of the blue, and he gets all those points off that random last day penalty. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, there's not too much more to probably talk about in terms of this season. Say only 4 game days left. We are gonna touch on your season, Ian. You've very, very kindly got your transfers here. Obviously we're not going to touch on kind of every single one, but it'd be great to see the highlights and the lowlights. But welcome everyone in the chat as well. Thank you so much for joining us on this final episode. Windy is in, Steve Manning, Sam Smith, Dave Hannigan. Some really nice words from everyone. Thank you so much. We hope you've enjoyed the season with us. Michael Blackburn says, "Gutted Sky aren't doing a Euros game." Yeah, indeed, they're not doing a Euros game.
That's a shame.
It is a shame.
That World Cup game was so good.
Agree. Yeah.
And the format, it must be there, ready to go.
Yeah. Don't really know why, but yeah, it is really a shame. Peter May is in. Martin Beasley, Tim, Matt Scurf, Peter May, John A. Conley, Bert Welsh, Carl, Paul Jones, Jason Harry, and then we get on to looking at how people have done this season. Graham Craig says, "Good evening, 0 transfers, rank 353, but 100 clear in my mini league. Take that. That is the way to do it, Graham. Very, very well played."
Absolutely.
Windy, 177, 3 transfers left. Well done, Windy. Superb stuff. Music Group is in. Viney, mid 800s last year, currently 1872. Had a great first quarter of the season, but then had a disappointing one after that. John Maloney, just outside top 1K. Carl, 69th. My son Joe, 117th. Our mini league battle is on. What a battle that is. Jason Harry, 32nd last season, just outside the top 900 now. Michael Scott is in. He's first in all his mini leagues. Good stuff. Michael, everyone, leading league by 133 points. Niall Murphy's in. Great to see you, Niall. 151st after a pretty stop-start season. Hoping for a stroke of luck and some captain magic to backdoor a top 100. Dave Hannigan, 0 transfers, dropped to 525 at Tottenham League by 220 points. Good stuff.
Wow.
I know. And Michael Scott, 1,600. First guy season, so learning. Well done, Michael. That's really, really good.
First season,
and he's got KDB, Odegaard, and Mateta differentials in his team as well.
And Teta's been a find, hasn't he?
Haven't he just? Wow. So well played, everyone there. If you haven't replied yet, let us know how your season is going, and any kind of learnings for yourself. But without further ado, Ian, do you want to just give us the kind of a brief overview of your season? Another great season again, another roughish top 50 finish. How do you do it?
Plan, and plan again, I think. Absolutely. Is the mantra. It hasn't changed since the first time I was ever invited on the pod, has it?
No, it hasn't. It hasn't, no.
No, it's the same thing every year. So this year started with Turner, Saliba, Dunk, Colwill. Remember back in the days where we all had Colwill?
7 million, 7.1 is he, something like that?
Yeah, he's very, very cheap. Yeah. Salah, Rashford, Saka, Fernandez I started with. Wow.
Enzo, was it? Enzo Fernandez?
Enzo Fernandez, yeah. Nakamba, that was the cheapie that we all spotted. And did Luton have a single game day somewhere?
He was on the Friday night, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was.
And then I had Haaland, and I managed to force in Watkins, which was a bit of a stroke at the start because he was lowly owned. And the reason I could get him, I went for Turner because he was dirt cheap and started for Forest, and they also had single game days.
It was Forest had a single game day on the Friday, didn't they? That was it. That's what
they had one on a Friday and one on a Monday. Both moved for cricket.
Oh, okay.
So that's where we started, and then the first move to come in was Buemo, who he started off like a house on fire. So he came in for the not so useful Fernandez. He wasn't getting any bonus at all, Fernandez. I don't even know. He played really well at the end of last season, didn't he?
Smashed the passing, didn't he? And he was on penalties as well.
Passing, tackles, penalties. Rashford, he was out of sorts, so he got moved on fairly quickly. And then Colwill, he was getting no bonus at all. Right. He was playing in like a hybrid of a left back and a left centre back role, wasn't it? Right. And the ball kept going out to the right because nobody liked to pass to him.
That's right.
So there was change of formation there. I brought in Alvarez. He started off on fire. He's scoring. I think he scored in 4 of the first 5 games for City, something like that.
Yeah, De Bruyne got had his injury, didn't he? And that brought Alvarez right into the fray, didn't it?
Yeah. He was on some set pieces. Then comes the first of the bad moves. Thiago Silva. What was I thinking there?
He just age has caught up with him, hasn't it? Father time. He was really good last year, wasn't he? Superb last year. Well, he has been over the years, but yeah, he's been caught up now, hasn't he?
Yeah, I put on my notes when I was working this out that there must have been a reason. I have no idea what that reason was, but there must have been at the time.
A reason.
Yeah,
solid asset. He's been like a solid asset for years. But yeah, and Chelsea's obviously struggled.
He lasted 2 weeks in my team by the looks of it. So Son came in early October. Spurs had a good run of fixtures, and they had a single game day. Romero he quickly replaced the lesser spotted Thiago Silva. And then there was Palmer for Nakamba. Now, whether I was late getting on him or not is a moot point, but he'd scored 25 points in the previous 3 game weeks. So it was a must then. And it was also a single game day on a Monday.
I think I did the exact same move at the same time. And I think Nakamba was on something like eight bookings then or something, or something like that. He was either 4 or 8. He was on the verge of a ban, I think, at the same time.
Yeah, something like that. That is correct. Yeah. And he kept dodging tackle bonus, didn't he? He'd always get 3, no bonus.
That was right. Yeah.
So then I moved goalkeepers. I'd had enough for Turner. I think he was on the verge of getting dropped, or he had been dropped. I can't remember exactly which. So I brought in Nick Pope. And that meant another change was forced on me, something that Paul would probably give me a ticking off for. Doesn't like 2 moves, but I couldn't afford Pope without bringing in a cheap partner. So Lascelles came in. He was dirt cheap and playing well in the Newcastle side at the time. Next move was Zinchenko. He was playing regularly, getting best bonus for any of the Arsenal back 4. And then I had the first of the bad injuries where I brought in Nick Pope. He played about twice. And then he got himself injured, didn't he?
He done his shoulder, didn't he?
Yeah, so I brought in Robert Sanchez, who was playing for a Chelsea side who had good fixtures up until overhaul. Alvarez then lost his place to Haaland. So I swapped him back out for Romero. And then about 2 days later, Haaland was injured, wasn't he?
Oh wow!
So Alvarez was back in, and I brought him back in.
Oh, so this is a period of time maybe where with your transfers, if they weren't as efficient as they could have been, I suppose, but it was down to injuries.
It's down to injuries, yeah. Like 2 on the trot, yeah. And then we had City going. Did they go from playing the Club World Cup?
They did. They had a game with Brentford, which was moved.
Postponed, that's right.
Yeah.
So I took out Alvarez and
Haaland by the look of it.
Lascelles. I think he'd lost his place, but I'd already got rid of Haaland because he was injured.
Oh, of course he was.
So I brought in Trent because he'd started playing well in that new inverted position, getting lots of passing. And Pascal Gross, who was one that could have been brought in well earlier. He'd had a cracking season. And then the last move before overhaul was Haaland back on because they had a single game day after the Club World Cup.
So 16 transfers used out of 50 in the first
16 at overhaul, yeah. And I was ranked 1,000th.
Well, I was just looking at that, yeah. And in terms of was there kind of one or two moves there which really kind of stuck with you as as kind of really good solid moves, or were you just kind of playing the fixture volume? And
Zinchenko was a good move.
Yeah,
he was playing well, getting all of the bonus. Arsenal keeping clean sheets. Alvarez was a good move. He was playing well at the time, and Colwell wasn't. I mean, that's one of the beauties of this. If you got yourself in a flexible formation, getting a defender out for a striker, Bob's your uncle.
Yeah.
Palmer was the most essential, but I think, as I've touched on earlier, everybody was on that.
It was.
Most people seem to be on Son, and I had 1, 2, 3, 4 players that didn't leave my team all through the first half of the season. Saliba, Salah, Saka, and Watkins.
Oh, okay, interesting. I think I had about, I want to say 27 left at overhaul. I think so. I had about eight less than you.
Okay.
I just think in turn, well, the season before actually, when I had a kind of really good season, I was down to, I only used 9 before the World Cup. I do think it's how it. I think patience is something. I do remember just going back to kind of last year, Eric Dyer had him for Spurs, and he was a bit of a laughing stock, but he was just ticking over every week, just getting a bit of passing bonus. I think he got a couple of goals as well, actually. But I think the patience thing with certain players is something which is overlooked. Looking at your Turner pick there, you picked him up obviously, in game week 1, and you didn't get rid of him until the 11th of November, and bear in mind, Forrest and Turner, they were hardly pulling up trees. I know he had the odd haul, and such was Forest's defence that when they kept a clean sheet, which was rare, he'd probably get the save bonus as well, wouldn't it? But
it was on a bit of save bonus as well.
But it's so easy.
The reason for it was to facilitate the rest.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, it's easy to move off, and the Camber now, it's easy to kind of look back now and think, oh, why were we all on the Camber, right? But he did bloody well. He got even after a lot of people took him out. I remember Paul McAnulty kept him in, and he kept getting the tackle bonus all the time. And that's kind of all you want, isn't it? So the kind of patience with those sorts of players, as long as they're getting 3 points, 4 points, 5 points, as long as they're doing their job and enabling your team, they're just so worth it, aren't they? Whereas I was kind of moving them on a little bit to try and get more points, but just by doing that, as we know, and I found out this year now, like, ran out of transfers really quickly. I haven't been able to make many luxury transfers in this second half of the season, unlike yourself, because I burnt too many in the first half, just trying to get those few more points, which we talk about every season.
The points are there, but the main gap in points isn't there early in the season.
And that's
exactly everybody's playing the same number of fixtures. They might be playing them at different times, but you're only getting a 2 for 1. You're not getting 3 for 0s like we'll come on to in the second half of this. There's been an abundance of them.
Absolutely.
And I think the one player in the first half that I never had, and it's probably cost me a really high finish, was Rodri.
Oh, really? You didn't have him in the first half?
I never had him in the first half of the season.
The comfort blanket, as Sudge calls him.
Yeah, Sudge calls him the comfort blanket.
And, and Rodri has most of the season been playing in I wouldn't say in an advanced position, but he's been playing a slightly more advanced than last year. Exactly.
Yeah.
Those kind of 20. He picks the ball up quite a lot, 20 yards out. Exactly that. So
he's scored a header as well, hasn't he? I think.
Yeah.
He scored a couple of goals, a couple of assists. Yeah. I mean, it's well worth the price, to be fair.
Completely agree. Looking at then at your overhaul team and your kind of strategy.
Yep. So overhaul team was Areola, Saliba, Van Dijk, Saka, Van Heck, Foden, Rodri, Gross, Palmer, Doughty, and Watkins. Now, this was sort of a bit force-fed, really, due to the split game week.
Yeah.
With all of those different game days. Was it eight game days, I think,
something
for
like that, wasn't it?
10 fixtures. It was all a bit mad.
I remember the FPL game week was like it was a record length, wasn't it? It was, I can't remember exactly, but it was like 18 days or something. It was crazy.
Yeah. And then 2 weeks later on the Monday night it finished, I think.
That was it.
Yeah. So Areola was a pick for that because I captained him in West Ham's game. Doughty was a pick for that because they were playing Burnley on that was the first game, I think. I think he got an assist, and that was sort of good enough.
Yeah.
Those that went for the striker, was it Morris? He was the one that did the best anyway. It might have been Morris, or it might have been
was it Adebayo? Was it Adebayo?
Could have been Adebayo. Could have been Adebayo. Yeah.
I think I remember James had Adebayo, and he well, I wouldn't say accidentally, but he kept hold of him when he wasn't planning to. I think he scored a hat trick on a Monday night or something like that. I'm sure he scored a hat trick, and James had him.
Actually. Yeah, so then there was the planned moves after the overhaul, the De Bruyne and Haaland, because City played late. I think we missed the Newcastle game, and then they had an abundance of games, including that rearranged one against Brentford.
Mm-hmm.
So then there was 2 more moves the following week. Ederson and Ake, they came in for Areola and Saliba. Now, there must have been a reason for taking out Saliba. I couldn't find it when I had looked back, but they must have had a shortage of games or something. And then the next moves were for single game day. So Palmer was moved out, which might surprise people, but they had a very strange run of fixtures where they played on, I think, Saturday.
You're right.
Then they missed a week, and then they didn't play till the Monday night or something.
I think other teams had like a 4-for-1 over him at that point, but a lot of people were stuck on them, obviously, because he was their enabler and lack of transfers, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I brought in Doucouré when he was picked to play for Everton. I thought that was a bit of a punt for a captain. There was a player that did well that day, and I can't remember who it was. Then Hee-Chan or Huang, he was brought in for. Remember when he was really popular in FPL?
He was,
and did absolute square root and naff all.
And then he got injured, didn't he? I brought him in on my FPL wildcard about game week 25, and Neto, and they both got injured within a week.
Crazy. So I had him, and he did nothing then. And then there was the next possible mistake. So this is the Monday night game, 26th of February. I went for Tony because he was back doing well for Brentford
against West Ham.
West Ham battered them.
The Bowen hat trick, wasn't it?
And Bowen did well. And when I look back, I could have gone for Bowen in a formation difference, and it would have helped further down the line. So that was probably something. I mean, Tony looked at the time like he was the best pick.
Yeah, I agree.
It turned out he wasn't. Bowen was the best pick, but Bowen was definitely best for formations because it got you not stuck on another striker.
I brought them both in that night, but I captained Tony.
Right.
I captained Tony. And it was only because that was the first time that Kudus, Paqueta and Bowen were all playing again after AFCON and all this stuff. So that's why I brought him in, But
and they were playing at home. But they'd been terrible for about a month before, haven't they?
Absolutely awful.
Absolutely terrible.
Agree.
So, that was one that goes down, along with the silver one. That's 2 there that could have been improved on. So then we came to the next ones was Palmer back in for the single game day, and Son back in. And that's when Spurs fixtures changed again. And they were almost the same fixtures they were back in October. They'd got 4 really good ones plus a single. Then Solanke was brought in. They'd got a single game day, another rearranged game. That was the one after the Luton player. I forget his name. The one that had a heart attack on the pitch.
Tom Lockyer.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, because their game was rearranged, and Solanke was everybody's captain of choice for that game. And then we came on to the 2 for noughts and 3 for noughts. So
this is where it all
Arsenal
happens,
had a
mate.
2-0. So Saliba and Saka were in.
Yep.
And then the first set of 3-0. So it was Neto, Romero, and Bowen came in.
Nice.
Then there was Salah. That was after the international break, I think, for captaincy against Brighton. And then the Arsenal pile on the following week. So Raya and Saliba came in. Then there was more Liverpool, McAllister. Then the second set of 3 for noughts with Gabriel, Havertz, Saka, and Nunes coming in. Now, Havertz was fantastic for me. Nunes, the less said, the better, to be honest.
I think he scored that lucky goal off his was it off his bum or something, wasn't it? On like I think it was a Thursday night.
Yeah, they did play on a Thursday.
He scored. He did score. It was off his bum. It was. I think the keeper blasted it against him or something. He did score in that game.
Yeah, I remember.
And he might have got an assist after in the next day. He did okay, but he certainly wasn't, as you say, Havertz sort of levels or anyone else.
And then we came to, this is only like about 3-4 weeks ago now. You remember that Sunday where the mad Liverpool team leaks came out?
I do.
So I went for Eze captain there, and that was inspired. He did really, really well. Brought him in for McAllister, and captained him. He did well that day. Then the next week, this is when we were getting into the sort of the FPL double game weekers. I brought in Isak and Bruno on the Wednesday when they played, and captained Bruno against Sheffield United when he scored a brace.
Yeah.
And I had to bring in Pickford that day as well for Raya because that was a budget purpose. But Pickford then, he had a single game day coming up that was going to be captained on it anyway. And then the Thursday, it was a single captain again. This was Man City against Brighton, and Haaland was injured. So it was a pick your player. And again, I got that one right. I went for Foden, captained him, and he scored a hat-trick.
Boom.
And then we came to the pile into the double game week players. So this was on the following Sunday. So I brought in Romero and Dunk in defence and Son and Haaland up front. Haaland was rumoured to be on the bench that day, and he was on the bench, but he scored a goal when he came off. Can't remember the fixture now. And then we came to my Hail Mary. This is when I was in 32nd, I think. And I was chasing, so I brought in Watkins. They were playing away at Brighton, and they'd absolutely battered them in the home fixture. And it didn't work, and that's where my sort of chances went. And then the last transfer I made, when Bruno wasn't in the starting lineup against Crystal Palace, my bed was sort of made by then, so I brought in Onana. I could have gone for somebody else on that day, but I was hopeful that Bruno was going to be back, and he was the only person in the United's 3 games or 3 remaining games that was going to do any damage. So I thought I might as well get the extra games out of Onana. And that's sort of how the season is steady in the early half, using a third of the transfers. Push for momentum over the winter, then really pile in when the fixtures allow in spring. And if you show the sort of the trajectory graphic, it tells its own story, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And then you kind of flew up. I think that flight between, like, it looks like to be like 250th to maybe 80th. I'm assuming that's when you had the Arsenal Liverpool sort of 3-0 pile-on, wasn't it? And that first Arsenal game was disappointing, wasn't it? I remember, I think, but then they more than made up for it. They battered. In the second team was like 5-0 or something, and
they beat Chelsea 5-0.
That was it.
Didn't they?
Yeah, that was that one.
Yeah, and then it was also getting the right captaincies in that last week of April. Havertz on the Tuesday against Chelsea.
Nice.
Yeah, Bruno on the Wednesday against Sheffield United. Foden on.
It was on the Thursday. It was the Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah, against Brighton, and then Isak on the Saturday against, I can't remember who they were playing, Sheffield United again, I think. Yeah, they worked out really well, and I was on a roll. And then I thought, look, let's see if we carry this momentum on. Yeah. And Watkins sort of put an end to that, but there you go. You can't win them all.
But I think, though, like, looking at where you were, you've almost played, don't say a perfect season, but a model season in how to play fantasy football, in terms of you played really steady, really consistently, made sound decisions, got yourself up to a position where you can yourself choose. As Paul McAnulty says all the time, when he's got up to like 30th place or 40th place, he's normally unless he had obviously aside from last year when he kind of organically rose, he didn't have to push it at all. He just rose himself. But you've got a decision to kind of make, and normally with Paul, because he's in so many massive cash leagues, when he is 30th, he's like, I'm good. I'll stick with 30th because it's good enough for him to kind of win them. Whereas you put yourself in a very enviable position of thinking, right, I'm 30th now. I've got more transfer. I've probably got double the transfers than most. I'm going to go for it. And, it didn't work out. If you'd have gone the other way, it could have worked out. You could be fighting now in the top 5 or 10, and thinking, right, how can I go, how can I go and do the win? But this is where obviously, being a previous fantasy winner and, we talk about it all the time, the luck you need to actually win the game is insane. You need every single duck to fall in your row. And if every single duck doesn't, which is hard to do, it's incredibly rare. Obviously it kind of happens. It doesn't, but you played it. You played it exceptionally well, man. Just that kind of, the rub of the green, the 50-50 call at the end. Who knows where you'd be, if you'd have gone a different captain. But
yeah, maybe next year.
But you had was it top 50 or 60 last year?
Just outside the top 100 last year. The previous year was my best I've done was 28th, I think.
Wow. So your average probably over the last 3 seasons is going to be about like 60 or 60 or 70.
50, 60, 70,
which is pretty insane. There's not going to be many Sky managers who've done that. So really, really well played, Ian. In terms of learnings for yourself, again, obviously you've had a fantastic season. Were there, apart from the injury transfers you couldn't really help and the 1 or 2 dodgy decisions you made, was there anything you feel you could have done better at all?
Or not really. I mean, I might have done overhaul differently, and next year there'll be a chance to, because we won't have the split weekend.
Yeah, we will.
So there shouldn't be so many dodgy games you've got to fit in.
Yeah.
But I think I'd probably generally play the same way: 1/3 of the transfers in the first half and 2/3 in the second.
Sounds
with a couple of less injuries. Yeah. I might have been sort of 3/4 left, maybe.
Yeah, I agree. Couple more messages in the chat. Sean W is 75th with 2 transfers left. Best finish before was 425th, so very, very well played there, Sean. Bake 97,
well done.
1.8k first year of playing. Well done, Bake. That is a superb first year performance. Well done. Anup is in. Jack McMillan currently 10th overall, thanks to Gvardiol. What a hit. Well done there, Jack, and well played on an absolutely fantastic season. Well done, Jack. Carl says, lesson learned. First half of the season, lost faith with Onana, moved him on after Sheffield United game. He then kept 3 clean sheets in the next 4 games.
That's the kind of thing that happens, isn't it?
Unbelievable. Yeah. And he also, in the second half of the season, not having Foden until late on. Bobby Shearer says, lessons the last couple of weeks. United players are so unreliable. They are, aren't they? I mean, they're just so bad at the moment. It's incredible. Dave Hannigan asks, how many people play Sky FF, do you think? I think it's about 300,000 or 350,000.
Yeah, it's around about that. Yeah. But 2 teams each, so it's probably half of that.
Yeah. And Joseph's lesson learned early in the season: for players only going to miss 1 game, don't be hasty to transfer him out, especially if a defender. The transfer worth more in points later on. Yeah, and it's so true. It's so easy in the first half to try and chase those extra 5 or 10 points, whereas the value of a transfer, we
gets a lot more.
100%, both in terms of the direct impact of the transfer, but also the butterfly effect then that you're able to move around and really, I'm assuming, Ian, when Liverpool and Arsenal had that 3-0, you probably had 8 plus.
I think I had 9 or 10.
9 or 10. I mean,
I had 9 or 10.
When Raya, no other team,
Saliba, Van Dijk, Saka, McAllister, Gabriel, Havertz, Nunes.
Yeah.
So the only ones Salah. So the only players in my team that weren't Liverpool and Arsenal, it looks like it was Solanke, and Palmer. They were the
So
only
that's
two.
9. Yeah, and you can see that in the in the jump on this screen that over to the right hand side, that massive jump there, and that's when to use your transfers, right? Because everyone, including myself, I think I managed to get up to about, I want to say 6, 5 or 6, but I knew it wasn't going to be enough, right? But I couldn't go any more in than that because I also knew I needed to get off them as well because the transfer,
Well, that's the thing.
because
So you
they
need
flipped,
the
didn't
count
they?
to get them on and get
Exactly,
them off again.
exactly
Yeah,
that. But
and that's something that won't happen again next year.
yeah, I agree.
With the FA Cup changing to get its own weekend and not sharing with the Premier League, there's going to be less rearranged fixtures.
Yeah.
So the amount of 3 for noughts and 4 for ones is, there'll still be some, but there won't be anywhere near as many. And there's no guarantee it's going to be a stellar team. That was the difference as well this year, wasn't it? Liverpool and Arsenal had good players in all positions.
Absolutely.
And at the time, they were both playing well.
Indeed. Just a couple of other things just to talk about, Ian. In terms of, we talked about the transfers. Everyone is very familiar with your, strategy, and it works well every year. I suppose there's a debate on whether it can maybe, as we've talked about with Paul previous years, whether you can actually win it, or whether. I think you could have this year. I think, it just kind of fell at the end more to the 50-50 calls than anything else.
And that was more punty than anything else. I was going in a direction that others weren't.
Exactly.
If it had have worked, I'd have jumped up. It didn't, so I jumped back.
Exactly that.
Pays your money, takes your chances, yeah.
And in terms of captains, you've gone for a few captains this year that I maybe wouldn't have expected you to go for. Players like Havertz potentially and a couple of others. How do you play your captaincy? I'm very much Paul's school of just go for the most popular captain if I can, obviously. How would you play your captains normally?
Generally speaking, the guy I think is going to score the most goals.
Okay, goals, not so much in defence. Then you normally attacking sort of captain, or
I will captain a defender, but it annoys me if they let a goal.
Yeah, same.
That doesn't half annoy me.
And aside from transfer usage, one final question, but where can Sky managers find their edge? How can you consistently get a good finish?
You've got to plan it correctly.
Okay.
Start the season, work out how long you can keep your team intact for, and in a flexible enough formation that you can jump people around. So I did Rashford to Diaz. I mean, Diaz didn't last very long. He got dropped from the City team, didn't he? And Colwill to Alvarez. So it's a midfielder to a defender, and then a defender to a striker.
So you were almost constantly in like either a 4-4-2 or 3-5-2 sort of thing.
Yeah, so enough where I can actually plan to move on. And then you've got to look at where you're going to need a player. You've got to be looking to bring that player in. So I knew that we're going to want Tottenham for that single game day, and it was probably going to be Son. So you use a planner. There's one on the hub, and then you can sort of work your team forwards, and then slot in the different pieces as and when need be. So when Lascelles was injured, and I think Romero did he get banned earlier in the season?
He did. He had the red against Chelsea,
flexible.
Didn't
he? Yeah, that was it. So I needed to be flexible enough to. So when I was getting Tet Romero out, I'm thinking, well, I can move my keeper now. And if I want to go for a better one, there's an option to get a cheaper defender in that will then balance up the price. Yeah. There's nothing worse than looking at your team thinking, I'm 0.1 shorter.
I had that a few weeks ago. I was going to make 3 moves, and I was like, oh my goodness, it all falls into place. Blup, blup, blup. And I saw the dreaded red minus 0.1, and it just feels absolutely sick. had to rearrange things swiftly. But yeah, superb. So thanks, Ian. And obviously Ian has got his own planner, which he uses himself, and which Fantasy Football Hub members have access to as well. If you aren't signed up to Fantasy Football Hub, you really, really should be. Ian's planner is an absolute must for all. Just until we had a couple of final questions as well. Connor says, he asks, apart from Cole Palmer, who are the players you expect to have price rise next season and the ones to look out for? Obviously, it's very early to talk about
Arsenal defenders.
Arsenal defenders, yeah.
But Sky got a strange policy with pricing defenders, haven't they? There seems to be a maximum of 10 million. 12 million has always been the maximum price, hasn't it? I think for the players.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and the defenders seem to be a maximum of 10.
Yeah.
Dunk should get a rise, but probably won't because Brighton have been, well, average is probably putting it mildly. They've definitely gone back to the mean, haven't they?
Yeah.
The form from last year hasn't been carried forward. Now, whether that's the case of being in Europe and not being used to playing so many matches or not, I don't know.
They've had a lot of injuries as well. I think they've injuries all over the team.
March and Matoma.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Be interesting to see how he goes. People to look out for. Interesting. That one will need a bit of thought.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't really got much on there. I'm not really up on the promoted teams either. I gotta be honest. All the ones who will be promoted this week they played, didn't they? It was 0-0 in both the first both the first legs in the playoffs.
You think Ipswich will be cheap, wouldn't you?
I think so. Yeah, we'll definitely be doing a lot of analysis ahead of game week 1 for them. But yeah, I think Rodri is still probably underpriced. I mean, if he plays, if he's 9.3 or 9.4, he's got to be over 10 next year. Otherwise,
you think Foden will go up as well? Wouldn't you? He scored a lot of goals.
Yeah, same. And like Saliba's, I think he's doing 9 or 9.2 or something like that.
So I think the most expensive defender was it Diaz? Or was it Van Dijk?
I think it was Trent. I think Trent was 10 or 9.9. Van Dijk 9.9.
Yeah. So they might come down a bit because Liverpool haven't been as good in defence. But new manager, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, we'll do a lot of analysis on this channel. Don't worry, ahead of game, we'll pick out all the enablers. We'll look for the value and yeah, looking forward to that in the summer already. And Dale Turner, how many players will finish your season with who started in your initial team? That was last one. I think yes. I haven't looked at mine.
Oh, that I had in my initial team.
Yeah, in your initial 11.
Saliba, Watkins, Dunk, Haaland. That's it.
Well, a few then, 4 then. I think I got 3 or maybe.
But they haven't been there all season.
Yeah, of course.
There's not a single player in my team that hasn't been moved on at some stage.
No, of course. Great stuff, Ian. Thank you. Most important question of the night. We've got a what's your favourite? It was given to us by the Twitter chat this week.
Oh, okay.
And it is, what is your favourite ice lolly or kind of ice cream treat? If you have one, if you are one for those sorts of things.
I'm not overly an ice cream person, but I do like, if I'm out somewhere and we're going to have an ice cream, I'd have a strawberry split.
Strawberry split, nice.
Yeah,
I like a raspberry ripple ice cream. Very boring, very old school, but wherever I go, there's a brand around here, Sub-Zero, and their ice cream is to die for. It's fantastic. So.
Oh, okay. Is that when you're sort of buying a tub and have at home then? Yeah, not when you're sort of buying a shop.
It's both actually. It's like kind of a massive shop around here, but they also distribute ice cream to a lot of kind of local independent sellers around here as well. So it's
right. Okay.
So if you are in South Wales, look out for Sub-Zero ice cream.
So I'm down in Barry. I'll have to nip in forward. Yeah.
Down in Barry, Sub-Zero ice cream, mate. Absolutely superb. They should sponsor this podcast actually after that plug. But that is it for us for this week, and indeed this season. We would like to thank everyone for your support, watching and listening every single week in the chat. Your comments and everything mean the world to us. They really, really do. I know, on behalf of Paul as well. He's on holiday this week, but we both really enjoy the pod so much. Thanks to Ian, thanks to Dan, thanks to Liam, thanks to James and everyone else who's guested this year as well. We will be back next year without a doubt, going at it again. But your support, and friendship, everyone, is really, really it means a lot to us every single year, and we'll miss you guys over the summer. Thank you, Ian. Fantastic season and fantastic analysis.
Thank you, Fergie. As a regular viewer when I'm not guesting, it's as much down to you as it is to everybody else, mate. So
thank you, mate. Appreciate
well
that.
done.
Yeah, holding the tech together is my job. Failed at the start of this one, but do that okay for sure. And thank you to Paul, obviously, who's been awesome all year as well. I think by his own admission, he gave up the ghost a few weeks ago when he realised, he wasn't really going his way.
He's allowed to do that as a previous winner, isn't he?
This is it. I forgot though last year to announce him as the reigning Sky champion for the final time. So I'll do it now. Thanks to everyone from the reigning Sky Fantasy Football champion, Paul McAnulty. He'll be only reigning for another 6 or so days, but well done, Paul. Where can people find you, Ian?
I'm on Twitter. I still can't get round to calling it X.
I can't.
I don't think I ever will.
I can't.
I still like Opal fruits, not Starburst, mate. You know what I mean?
Marathons instead of Snickers. Showing our age now.
That's it. Yeah. At Planet Sky, you find me there, and you'll see my planners on Fantasy Football Hub.
Lovely stuff. And just speaking about the hub, if you're not a member, just have a think of signing up. Our WhatsApp groups are absolutely fantastic. They're great communities. Hundreds of Sky managers who do well every single. It's not just about doing well in Sky. It's a brilliant community of like-minded managers.
Absolutely.
If you're on the pro version. So if you're not a Fantasy Football Hub member, you really want to think about it. Going into next year, it's not just a membership to a subscription service for a site. It's a whole community, of fantasy football enthusiasts who absolutely love it. So, you can either join. Links always in the description, but take a look if you don't. If you like what you watch, please press the like button. We'd really appreciate it. Remember to subscribe in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast versions and leave some comments. If you're going to do one thing for us this year, do that. It would be much, much appreciated. We may do a summer review pod. We'll have to see, but we'll definitely be back in pre-season ahead of Sky Game Week 1. Paul's going to be busy this summer, spending his last season's Sky winnings in Germany, supporting the Scots at the Euros. So have a great time, Paul, and good luck to our Celtic neighbours. Good luck to England. In the meantime, we hope you all finish the season off in style, win all your mini leagues, and have a fantastic summer. Goodbye for now.